I literally started with like the bucket we used to vomit in when we were sick kids, and a couple microfiber cloths and a vacuum cleaner that was probably worth $50. And then mum would drop me off and just like pick me up a few hours later.
You're 18 and you take out a lease.
17, yeah.
17?
Yeah.
Okay. And you're doing this in a tough economy.
We're thriving in a crap economy, what we were going to do in a good one.
What advice would you give to people that are your age and they're like sitting on an idea, they want to get started or whatnot? What would you tell them?
I don't know if it's necessarily the right path.
Every year I venture down to Wellington College and speak to some of the Year 11 lads, talking to them about life skills. And one of them recently reached out to me and said that they actually listened, which is awesome to hear. And we've got Max in the studio. Mate, thanks for joining us and thanks for coming all the way up to Auckland.
No, of course. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Not too far of a trip.
And what year do you reckon that was that I came and spoke?
Yeah, well, if it's Year 11s, must have been 2022, so good few years ago now. End of the year, I think, around there. But yeah, it's good to have someone come in. Like, you were the only person in my time at Tebbs who came in and like gave valuable chat, I reckon.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good to hear.
Yeah.
And so what age are you now?
18.
18, yeah. So you're
16, yeah.
Yeah. So your first year out of school?
Yeah, first year out, yeah.
What did I speak about that spoke to you or that you remember?
Oh, well, as we were saying, I think I've got a pretty bad memory, but it was general just about like getting onto it early and saving some cash to then start investing. And I think I was already a bit like listening to some stuff and researching about investing, but it was real good to have someone like from New Zealand, because I feel like a lot of the content out there isn't necessarily directed to Kiwis. So it's kind of cool to have someone come in and like, you know, actually hit the nail on the head and say like, these are the platforms you can use. This is how you can start like putting the processes in place. And, you know, while you're actually talking to kids at school rather than that content that's more like distributed to everyone sort of all ages, less so kids our age.
Anything that I talked about that really confused you or
Nah, I can't remember like the specifics too much, but I don't reckon it was too high level. Like, because obviously you knew your audience and you weren't trying to confuse everyone. So
yeah.
I feel like I probably knew more than most kids that weren't really paying attention. So yeah.
And did I give away the $100 that year? Might have been the year
after.
after.
I don't think it's higher than that. Yeah.
I took a $100 note with me, I think the year after.
Really?
I was like, I was like, who remembers I had like a question or something? And actually quite a few hands went up. Yeah. And whoever got the $100, like, is this real?
Yeah.
I'm like, I think so, mate. I actually don't know. You have to go see if you can spend it. But
put it in the bank, yeah.
Yeah. No, so what led you to be thinking about a lot of this stuff already by the age of 16?
I guess maybe I don't know, it might just be natural. I've always like had a side hustle going since about 13 or just before I turned 13. I started as a fundraising project, so I guess once I had a bit of cash rolling through, then it's like, well, how do I sort of be sensible with this? And it's always interested me. I guess there's no single thing, but always wanting to like pursue financial freedom when I'm older and I guess have choices to do what I want. I guess it comes from there.
Nice. And people your age at that time, like I'm sure they wouldn't be that interested in that or like... You're an outlier?
Oh, I mean, maybe so, but yeah, I mean, I can't blame them. It's not necessarily like the most interesting stuff to start with. And obviously when I was like 12, 13, I probably wasn't thinking so much about the investment side, just more of like the physical services and products that I'd be doing to get the money. That was the first step, I guess, yeah.
Yeah. And so did you start with a fundraiser? Talk us through the fundraiser and how that came to be.
Yeah, what was I needed to fundraise some money for a refugee. So mum sort of, I think, had the idea, why don't you clean cars? So I think we posted up on Facebook, shout out I Love Corey in Wellington. That was like the way I grew my business, just like community posts on that Facebook group. And then I messaged people, mum would drop me off with like a household vacuum cleaner and a bucket of water, and I'd just do like $40 car cleans. And then the money I saved from that, I ended up buying like a little push scooter to donate to a refugee from Syria. And yeah, so from there, I guess I just continued doing it afterwards, yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. It was a refugee who'd come to New Zealand, and so everyone was kind of fundraising for them, and it was your job, responsibility to kind of find a way to do it? Yeah,
mum's always pushing, giving back to the community in our household, so as part of like my 13th birthday, we got to go overseas for an OE trip, and then part of that was just making sure we took some of that money and gave back, so rather than, use the spending money I was getting to go over there, just like was suggested to raise it before we left, and that was sort of what like kicked it off to fund that money, and then I guess I kept doing it afterwards. Yeah.
What do you think has led your mum to teach? Do you have siblings?
Yeah, two older brothers.
To teach you and the brothers about like giving back.
What led her? I don't know. I mean, could be anything in her upbringing. Maybe her parents. Yeah, I couldn't
Yeah.
put it to one specific thing, to be honest.
there's
She's
a
a good person.
Yeah, there's a question for Mum over dinner
Yeah,
tonight.
exactly.
Well,
Yeah,
whenever you next see it. You living at home?
Yeah, still
Yeah.
living at home,
Smart.
just trying to stack all the cash I can. Not quite putting it up for rent yet, but
Yeah.
already paying one rent in town for the shop. So
Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to
Yeah.
that. Okay, so you start the fundraising, and do you learn through that process that okay, this is doable, or what does that spark for you?
Yeah, I guess it was sort of like, oh, I'm so young and I'm bringing in what at the time felt like a lot of money, especially for kids my age. I mean, before then it was just like dollars on the weekend busking, and I'd seen my brother do busking. I was like, oh, well, I'm not good at playing the violin like he is, so I can clean cars, right? So that's, I guess, what I started doing after then. And I'm not sure what drove me at that point exactly. Maybe it was just like having the money to, I don't know, buy cool things. I've always been real big into mountain biking, and bikes are real expensive and gear and all that. So, and I knew I wasn't going to get just like handout after handout from my parents. I've always been like do it yourself sort of teachers that way. So yeah, I guess it probably was trying to fund that passion while I was still doing that. Yeah.
What do your parents do? Because there'll be like a whole heap of people listening that are like, okay, we want to know what his parents do. Like, what?
Yeah. So my mum, bless her, she's care of the aged. So looking after elderly people. She was doing that for a company, and now she's on her own doing it. So she's just got a few clients, and yeah, she's just like super generous giving her time for that. I always tell her she needs to charge more, but obviously some people just don't have the fundings in retirement to be able to afford much. So yeah, she's very generous that way. And then my dad, I believe, is some IT. I think he manages teams for. He's at the government right now for Greater Wellington Council. So yeah, managing teams.
So it's not like the massively entrepreneurial and have multi-million-dollar businesses or anything.
No. I think Mum did start a small business when she was way younger, but no, she's been a teacher, worked, at a museum, and then my dad's always been sort of in the IT field, but I don't think he's ever started anything.
Yeah.
Was a sole trader at one point, still is actually, so I guess, a bit that way, but...
Contracting.
No
awesome.
big business.
Okay, mate, so you do the fundraising, and then you're kind of like, you realise, okay, if I want things like mountain bikes and whatnot, they're expensive, and that's going to take money, and so you've got to go out there and get it. So what happens post the fundraiser?
I mean, I guess it would have just kept stacking in terms of the snowball of word of mouth. I think my customers from mostly Karori would have started, being like, oh, it's this young kid doing it and it's cheap as hell. So, get your mates in, start referring to their friends. And then once the phone starts, ringing or messaging every day, you're not just going to say, no, I'm not doing it anymore, and eventually start upping the prices. So I think it was more natural progression than any one thing driving. Obviously, I still had that passion and needed to fund the biking throughout. So that would have, been like, oh, well, there's a problem, here's a solution. Why stop it,
Yeah, working.
Okay.
So just to go back a bit, so you start the fundraising, you then kind of build and learn some things via clean. What was it about cleaning cars? Because you could have picked 100 things. Obviously, no violining for you.
Yeah, exactly. No, it was just low barrier to entry. I literally started with like the bucket we used to vomit in when we were sick kids, and a couple microfiber cloths and a vacuum cleaner that was probably worth $50, right? So completely free. And then Mum would drop me off and just like pick me up a few hours later, and I'd use the client's hose and tap and whatnot. So low barrier to entry, anyone can start it, right? And then you can just build and keep reinvesting from there.
Yeah.
So no huge capital expenditure to start.
So you do the fundraising side of it, and then you go, okay, well, there's something here. You keep doing it, you enjoy it, and what would you be by this stage, like 15-ish or?
Yeah, probably I think around 15 or 14 even would have been my first hire, and that was just getting mates from school. So I think pretty early on I was having a helping hand, because it gets dark, right? I was doing it after school, start maybe 3:30, like rush home, start as soon as you can, and then some winter it gets dark like around 5 because you need light to be able to do a good job, right? So that's not really enough time, so I'd have to get some help in, and then we both tag team it.
Nice.
And then, once we got rolling, it was like set up a tarp on the sloped road, get some like Bunnings lights hanging from the roof, and it was a dangerous setup, but it worked. I did roll with what I could.
Wow. Yeah. And what did your mates think of you that weren't into this? What were they like? What are you guys up to?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think I spoke about it too much. I guess most of my mates came through mountain biking, not necessarily like school. I mean, I still had mates there, but I don't recall them ever like caring much about it or knowing too much. I don't think I was too loud about it. But yeah, my mates through mountain biking, I guess I would have been like, nah, I can't ride. Got to save money for the race this weekend or whatever. So they probably knew a bit more. But they got it, I feel like, because they had the same issue of trying to get cash.
So you're doing this on the weekends as well?
Yeah. I mean, it was whenever the jobs were, right? It's still kind of that way. It's still 7 days a week if I need to be. So yeah, if clients wanted it done on the weekends, if I wasn't too busy racing or whatnot, yeah.
So to help some people get started who might not have started their thing, it's literally you going into a Facebook group, a community Facebook page.
Yeah, that was,
and saying, this is the problem that I can help you solve.
Yeah.
And here's my contact details.
Yeah.
And basically that gets a snowball rolling.
Yeah.
And it's a very small one to start with, but then you start building some results, and then people start talking to other people about it as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There's heaps of ways to start, but that was how I started with that. And yeah, like you said, it's a snowball. Because if you do have a good product, then you get referrals and people start talking word of mouth. And that's the easiest way to build, I feel like. Yeah.
You work it. Okay. Then you then start learning. Okay, you want to try and create more time. So then you look at bringing your mates involved.
Yeah.
And where does the snowball roll from there?
Wow, long story. But too long didn't read. I mean, we had, I think, two employees. I hired my mate. Both of them were from school. I think we went through like 3 or 4 different guys. Just not everyone's the perfect fit. And then one of them's still with me to this day. He's my business partner now. And from eventually it was a couple years doing it outside the old house. But wasn't exactly fully above board, so I think one of the neighbours might have got a bit sick of it and sent an old email off to the wastewater guys. So we got not cease and desist, but shut it down. So that led us to then go mobile.
Just on that, what was it like getting that cease and desist or the sort of shut it down when you feel like you're doing something and all of a sudden someone's like, no, don't do that?
Yeah, well, we're moving. It actually just coincided with moving house, so I was gonna have to come up with it was a transition anyway. So it wasn't huge kick in the gut, but it was still like, I mean, I could kind of get it. I assume they were unhappy about the noise, every night once we were doing like every single day, going through to like 7, 8 p.m. I feel for them. So it wasn't like a betrayal of any means. Just natural progression.
But did it make you want to stop, or did it make you angry, or?
Nah, I feel like, there's, by that point I probably had enough, of an encounter with like problems, right? There's always going to be problems coming your way, and, they've never been something you like use an excuse to just give up. For me, at least, you kind of just convert them into solutions.
Where does that resilience come from?
Probably biking, probably biking.
Falling off and hurting yourself.
Yeah, and also maybe even less than that. It's just how bloody hard it is to go up hills. Like it's just boring and hard. So I guess you if you're halfway up a 3-hour climb or whatever, you can't just give up then. So you got to keep pushing through that, and maybe that's what sort of led into business as well. Yeah.
It's funny, I was just thinking, I used to do a lot of biking as a young fella as well, and I had never really thought about some of those
traits.
But and then like a lot of work in the gym and stuff, and I noticed that like as I've gotten older, you start to become a bit more complacent and sort of. I would, I would go to the gym with the lads and I'd be like, righto, 20 reps. And now I'm like, 8's enough. Then you get to 6 and it's like, maybe only 7. And you're like, wow, where does this, it's so hard to keep pushing yourself. But biking's one of those things where, halfway up a hill, there is no option. It's
what are you going to do? Go back down the climbing trail? Like, no, you got to keep pushing.
Nice. Okay, so resilience obviously like a massive topic and really important. So we'll come back to that. But I did interrupt you. So you get the sort of stop doing what you're doing. You're moving places.
Yeah. So at that point, I just gotten my driver's license, like learners. So the timing didn't exactly align, but I had to go mobile on my learners. So I had some like real clapped out. Not clapped out if he's listening, but at the time my biking sponsor had like really generously had just got a new car, so he gifted. I think I paid $500 for this old Subaru Legacy. And it was a rig, it was manual, with huge boot space as wagons. So just loaded all the gear in that, and because before then it was in this like rusted garage, so just chucked it all in there. And then another one of my sponsors had this section in a business park out in Korokoro, which is like Lower Hutt, just on the entry. So we started offering mobile services where we'd go to their house, the customers, and then if they couldn't, we'd offer to have them drop it off, and I started paying him rent just to use his car park.
Oh, yeah.
So it was no different really to going to the customer's car park, but obviously not everyone has that power and water access. So that was the next transition. So it was a bit broken, driving to and from Kotokoto every day, or whenever we had those customers all the way from where I was living at the time. Ended up being a bit of a time suck, but we had to do it just to keep going at that point.
One of my goals is to help 100,000 Kiwis improve their financial literacy and in turn help create a better New Zealand. Generate has a very similar goal to educate and empower Kiwis to make smart KiwiSaver decisions so more of us can be better off at retirement. That's why I'm stoked to have them on board as sponsors. Together, we can reach more people and make this goal a reality. If you've never got KiwiSaver advice before, book a no obligation chat with a Generate advisor at generatekiwisaver.co.nz/change. They'll even put you in the draw to win 5K worth of vouchers just for having a chat, whether or not you decide to sign up. T's and C's on that webpage. A copy of the product disclosure statement is available at generatekiwisaver.co.nz. The issuer of the scheme is Generate Investment Management Limited, and of course, past performance does not guarantee future returns.
Are you enjoying solving these problems at this stage?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, otherwise I wouldn't have done it. But it was tricky. And then the progression from there, I guess I was still in school, and the daylight saving, I guess we had to do it during the day. So then I had to hire one of my mates who's out of school. So maybe I've skipped a bit, but we were like going out to Kotokoto after school every now and again. But at some point I had to do my first like full-time-ish hire, like during the day while I was still at school. Yeah. So then he was coming from Upper Hutt to my house to pick up the van because we couldn't keep it in Kotokoto, and then either go to a customer's house or drive back out the way he came to Kotokoto. And then I always wanted to like do a quality check wherever possible, right? Because that's if you don't, the product just ends up, that snowball melts eventually, I guess, if you have bad results. So then he'd be in Kotokoto, and after school I'd like rush out to Kotokoto and meet him, help him do what we could, and then so it's a long time suck, but
I saw that you've got 125 Google reviews.
Less than you. I was looking at yours, but you've had 7 years, so we're catching up.
Mate, I couldn't believe it. Well done.
Yeah, and we've had 1 4-star, and he was happy. You know, but still, come on. Yeah. And then the only 1 star was a fake one I posted on social when I was doing my own like personal social media. I was like, guys, the power of Google reviews. Like, if you're not doing this, and then the next day I get 1 star from someone who's never come in the store before. I'm like, come on.
Humans. Do you cop much of that? Any of that like sort of tall poppy, or like how do you deal with that?
Not a huge amount. I hear lots like yourself talking about it. And I feel like the more you put yourself out there, the more you'll cop it, the more you'll get. Yeah. But honestly, like until I started doing some of those posts before, it's just like client interactions. And if you're not searching for our product, you're not really going to find it, and you won't know it exists. So there's not been a huge amount of like, no one would know I'm doing it, so they couldn't really give me any crap for it.
Where did you learn to collect Google reviews?
Oh, where? I don't know. Natural progression of things, I guess. Like
most businesses in New Zealand wouldn't have 100 Google reviews.
Yeah, so. No, it's one of our most valuable assets. Like we're getting, I think we averaged like 9 over the last 14 days. So I've actually figured out a cheat code for it, which is just giving like at the end of the job, we chuck in like $10 worth of Ferraris in a little heart box, like they come. And a little thank you QR code with a thing they can scan, like a note. And I think that's increased our rates. Probably we had like 10% of customers reviewing, and over the last like trial period of 3 weeks, it's like gone up to like 80%. Sheesh. That's a mad number. Like, I think average is.
Is that a bit of Hormozy maybe, where it's like give them something?
Hormozy. I mean, even Gary Vee, who I don't listen to a huge amount, but just the principle of give, take. So we try and give as much of our service before they even come in. Just being super on top of it when they've from first contact to follow up after the service. It's just give as much top tier service as you can.
Accountant in me is like, $10 of Ferraris share. That's
to get 300 plus, and it's just CAC, right? Cost of acquisition,
Jeez, the lad is learning a lot here. How good. You could be running, you could be teaching business at some of the universities. Okay, so not too phased on the like the tall poppy or whatever we want to term it, and you're not too phased by it. But I noticed that you changed your Instagram from kind of you mountain biking to you doing what you're doing now, which we'll talk about more soon as well. But was that a hard transition?
No, it was super natural. Well, it was very hard. Only reason was I took too many concussions through mountain biking. So I started racing pretty competitively and doing like freestyle tricks. And I just like do a backflip, land funny, and then flunk on your head.
Wow.
And that's not good after a few times. So I think I racked up like a few serious concussions, but then they take ages to recover from. And I didn't have the best like information at the time, or maybe I was a bit like clouded in my thinking, but I didn't really I took recovery time, didn't really take enough in between, and probably had like 7 follow-on concussions, like small ones, and it's hard to give an exact number, but it was just concussion after concussion from like 2021 to 2023 or 4, whenever my coach stepped in and was like, bro, you cannot keep doing this. And
You're done.
super blessed for him to sort of give me that kick, I guess, to give me the start.
Was that hard? Because like for a lot of young fellas, and myself included, like I remember when I had my appendix out, I was just getting ready for a good season of footy.
Yeah.
And they said like, oh, you won't be able to do any exercise for 6 weeks. And it was part of like my identity. I just started crying when he walked away. I'm like, what the fuck am I going to do for 6 weeks?
Exactly. I think it was really challenging. I do remember when he sent that email, I did shed a tear there. I was like, I think I even felt it before, and I was like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
But at the same time, like the business was building alongside it, and it was just a natural jump to go, okay, well, this was where I was putting all my passion and energy. We'll just flip the switch and go as hard as I was there into the business. So it still has the same challenges and principles behind it. So yeah, I still get satisfaction.
Any advice for anybody of any age where they get to that point where something gets taken away from them and then they've got a choice like, okay, we can direct that like you did to something else, or you can stay there and go, oh, you know, like you don't understand my life stuff, and I've missed this and I could have been this, and you just...
Well, that's a choice, right? It's like, at what point are you going to switch out of that direction? Because you can't just go on that path forever, but eventually you've got to make that decision. And I guess it was maybe easier for me because I had something to turn to, but you have to sort of make the decision to go, I'm just going to chase that same feeling, but in something that now aligns with what I can do. So if it's not mountain biking, you find something else. And advice like to make that decision, I mean, the hardest part is just doing it and then sticking with it. But I guess if you can surround yourself with people that want to see you succeed, they're also going to push you to make that decision. So it is a tricky one.
When you talk about surrounding yourself with people, when I was growing up, we didn't have podcasts and things like that. Like it was,
feel for you.
it was pretty new. But I did notice that I could start curating the YouTube that I was watching and things like that. And when you talk about surrounding yourself, is that also what you mean? Like the sorts of things you're listening to? And
Yeah. I guess I'm much more mindful of it now. And if you're bringing it back to like how to make that decision or any advice there, I guess it more would be around your like family members and friends. I don't know how you'd curate that because it's quite a challenge at the same time. Like if they're not sort of helping you make that decision, then you're not going to be able to cut them out and like make a whole bunch of friends. So hopefully you've already got a network that is willing to be there for you and sort of guide you if you can't make that decision yourself. But much more like specifically, now I'm way more mindful about curating sort of what I listen to and who I'm around.
So you go on your personal Instagram, you go from being Max, who's doing mountain biking and whatnot, to then cleaning cars, and like, it's some pretty polished content from what I've seen too.
Oh, yeah, that was only this year. I guess one of my goals this year was to like start learning the skills to make a personal brand alongside the business, and honestly, I've dropped the ball completely on it. It's real hard, so hats off to you because, good Lord. And I thought I do still want to do it, but yeah, that's super fresh, and I just didn't. I mean, I knew it was going to be difficult, but I thought I kind of wanted to put more time into building the business's content. And I guess it was sort of when I made that decision, the business wasn't as pumping as it was, so I had more time to put there. And then as the business picked up, you can see like the day I stopped posting as frequently. So it is, that wasn't like a super hard transition to do, but it did feel a bit weird, making that first post after a while.
Do you cop any flack from your mates or?
Nah, no verbal flack, but watch the follower count drop a bit before it started going up, and no hate there because if you followed me for mountain biking content and I switched, sure, unfollow. Like if it's not for you, it's not for you.
Yeah. Would you say people your age, like when someone like you is doing what you're doing, are they pretty supportive of each other, or what's apart from the one negative Google review, like what's the vibe?
Again, it comes down to who you surround yourself with. So, I haven't had too much because as soon as I went like on social media, I was out of school already, so I didn't have that sort of feedback loop of like mates around school. And then everyone who I'm mates with is like already new, and I guess now the new people I'm meeting are from from those posts, at least on Instagram, for instance, and they're already doing things themselves. So no like tall poppy syndrome there, but I guess it sort of depends like where in life you are. Like if it's at work or at school, then yeah, you might cop a bit more of it. But
do you get any, like if you get a negative comment or something, does it like rock you or just carry on?
Nah, no, actually, just thinking about it now, I probably know why it doesn't anymore. When I was doing mountain bike content, I used to make like the cringiest mountain bike videos, copying the guys I was watching, and holding a GoPro up to your head at like 13 sort of gets you through that barrier pretty quickly. Like it was pretty confronting to do, and then watching it on TV like with your mates and family, and I guess I got the piss taken out of me then, so now I'm used to it and I don't really care, right? It's like I don't care what you think if I'm doing what I need to do to get to my goals. So I guess that helped.
Good man. And we'll come back to goals. Gee, I've got a lot of things we need to come back to, but let's just carry on with the journey. So you keep cleaning cars and you're building up reviews, you're building up more content, you're building up the snowball, and you're then needing some space. And then what's sort of the next chapter from there?
So we were rocking that mobile and like car park hybrid for a bit, and then I think it got a bit too much for the guy who was leasing it to us. Mad respect to him, like super helpful through both mountain biking sponsor, but this was like where they were staying and also where he was running his business out of, and it was quite a tight area. So as we grew, it made it a bit more challenging for him. So then his also super kind neighbor then let us lease some of his car parks, just I think two or three, and they often weren't using them, so we kept rocking with him for a bit, and super grateful to him, because without that help, I guess we would have just gone mobile, and that would have limited us for quite a bit. So grateful for the like people that have helped, because there have been a few, or many. But then from there, we wanted an enclosed space to sort of work in, and that would allow us to offer high level, better profit margin sort of services. So then became the natural jump. It was a very scary jump to where we are now, which is our shop in town, and also having that. And somewhere in that period, I also bought our first like mobile van, because I think that when we fully like fitted that out, that allowed us to like take all our tools back home each day, and have it a lot more organized than just in the back of the Subaru in the garage I had at home.
So you're 18 and you take out a lease.
17, yeah.
17?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do they, like, does the landlord sort of go, hang on, we need mum and dad here?
Mum guaranteed it. So.
Yeah, because I think you've got to be like 18 to even sign a contract like that. I can't remember.
Exactly. Well, you can sign it, but it's not legally enforceable.
That's right. Yeah.
And even if it was, like, what are they going to do? Right? Like, I could just default, and then who are they going to chase? So it was mum that put her house up on the her mortgage up. So without her, I mean, I couldn't have done it.
So for people who don't understand, basically what you're saying, Max, is that it's your responsibility to pay the lease. You sign the contract.
Yeah.
But if you can't, then mum's got to pay it.
Yeah, until they can break the contract, she's got to pay it. Yeah.
Yeah. So they could sell the house.
Yeah.
On her basically to collect the rent.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which would be pretty extreme, but it is a real possibility. So she took that risk.
Do you understand the magnitude of that, or like are you like, okay, that drives me, or and like mum's just sweet with that? She's like, I believe in you, Max. It
was a decision. I think she's always had sort of faith in me, and I mean, when you break the risk down, like first I did approach my grandparents to sign it, and actually that was just sort of mum, and she was testing me to like, I had to come up with all the financials and stuff to prove it, and then I love
your mum. This is great.
Oh yeah, no, she's great. And then once I had that, she took on the risk, and I mean the risk really comes down to the amount of payment she'd have to cover until we could break that period, which would be around 12 to maybe on the max end like 20 grand. So it wouldn't be losing the house, but that is still on the line. So she made a huge risk there for me. Which you couldn't have done without us. So,
wicked. Yeah. And so how are you running, so even like buying the mobile van, how are you running like all these numbers and understanding around like finance and whatnot?
At the van, I mean,
you pay for that in cash? You taking any debt or?
No debt. So at some point I'd switched to zero. Before then, I don't know what I was doing. I think it was just like paying it out through my bank account and whatnot. So then switched to zero, and then that gave me a clearer view. And then bought the van. I actually took a loan off my brother, and so that I managed to, because I didn't have the cash for that up front to buy it and fit it out. So I took a loan from him to suss that, and which, you know, in hindsight, I definitely could have just waited a bit longer, but I think it came at that period where like we were in the legacy and it wasn't meeting our needs anymore. We kind of needed something more professional and I couldn't afford it then. So that was the path I chose to take. So that's the only debt I've ever had, I think.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
don't really plan to take much more. But yeah.
Did you have an accountant helping with some of the stuff, or do you now? Like,
To start, I don't think I did, but yeah, now I've got great accountant in Wellington, family friend.
awesome.
Yeah.
So you can ask them some of these things to, am I on the right track here?
Yeah,
Or-
yeah.
cool.
I've got a good network of people I can ask, and obviously like Google ChatGPT is probably my main advisor.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can do a lot now with that.
And I suppose you're building up your network as well through cleaning these cars of people too and finding
Yeah.
out what they do.
That's the biggest benefit for sure of the business. Like,
Yeah.
I'm glad I've started LinkedIn now. I'm a bit late to it, I feel like, but just the contact list and the people you meet is pretty insane. Like, I've met the owners of some of the most niche businesses that like I never would have thought of beforehand, right?
Yeah.
So it gives you a very special opportunity there. And I mean, I think lots of businesses can provide that. Like, obviously yours. I mean, who made these guys one of your clients, right? It's like you meet, but that's just a broad benefit for sure.
Yeah.
Meeting new people.
So do you, do you talk to these people about what they're doing, and are they pretty like proud or like impressed by someone your age having a crack? Like I know that
Yeah.
I get excited by young people having a go, and so I'm like, okay, what can I do to help?
Yeah.
You find that?
Yeah, no, it's everyone's different, but you clean enough cars, maybe even if it's 2 and 10 people give a shit, like that.
Yeah.
They make it known. So I've had like hour-long chats with some clients, or even met them for coffee after. Just when I see like someone I can learn from, I just like latch onto that. But yeah, often like they'll pay in and they'll be like, "Oh, is this your business?" And they'll be like, "Yeah." Or even someone will ask like the boss, and I'll be like, "Oh, no, sorry, I'm the boss."
Yeah.
And then they'll just like lead into like, "Oh, when did you start and whatnot?" Yeah.
Oh, so they're asking you like, where's the boss? Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
a few times. Yeah.
No, this is my lease mate. That's out there.
Yeah.
Wicked. Okay, so you've got a lease space. You've got then the mobile side, and then staff members as well.
Yeah, so we're currently actually just today, one of my longest standing members is off to Europe. He's still racing. So last year he did an 8 month stint. This year he's doing 4 months. So we've dropped him, and then another guy left to Oz.
Yeah,
So
classic. Yeah.
bloody hell.
OE and
so
Oz.
we're rocking 2 at the moment, but
Yeah.
want to get back up to 4. So yeah, we've been
Okay.
5 at one point, and now I want to go me plus 4 staff. Yeah.
How have you found like leading your mates and staff members and stuff?
Yeah.
Very different, right?
Yeah, well, they've all been mates to start, and then recently we took care of our first like non-mate, and that was a real good challenge. Like I really enjoyed the process, but it's difficult, and both of those are difficult in their own ways. Like managing, I wouldn't even suggest it, to be honest. It hasn't been like there's no bad reason I say that, but it can, going into business with mates can be a bit tricky. Not that it has been super tricky, but I feel like it definitely could go wrong. And yeah, then on the other side, it's like a just stock standard employee. And yeah, it's challenging, but it's definitely a very good skill, I think, to learn.
So talk us through the type of work that you're doing. Like, what's a normal day look like for
Yeah.
for you guys?
Oh, my normal day and the team's normal day is very different. For them, like it's we do everything from your standard but thorough inside and out car grooms through to like protecting and correcting brand new vehicles. So with like ceramic coatings and such. So that can lead to a varied role for them, having the absolute filthiest crap car, which normally we don't have so many of those. We are definitely targeted at the higher end of the market these days. But starting off with that through to like having brand new sports cars come through, or luxury vehicles. So that's a bit varied for them. And they've got that client interaction piece and managing stock, I guess, or keeping the space clean. So that's sort of what they're covering. A few client interaction like techs and stuff.
And are you taking payment when these people turn up, or are you sending invoices? Or
I'm trying to move away from invoices. It was a bit difficult getting FPOS set up, but once we had that space, that was definitely helpful. So most of it's on FPOS, and then sometimes the FPOS machine is down or we forgot to charge or whatnot. So that can be invoice. It's just way more of a hassle.
Have you seen that you can take payment on your phone if you've got latest iPhone?
I haven't, actually.
Oh,
I should check that.
But if you've got FPOS, you probably don't need it. But maybe as a backup, you can. Yeah, on the latest iPhones,
Definitely.
I think you can tap a card on it.
Yeah, invoice
Right.
has just been like super easy though. And actually a difficult thing, especially for me, less so for the staff, is like charging customers is quite painful. I feel like I often feel bad charging the full amount of some jobs, and I just can't get over it. Sometimes I'll just like reduce the price by 10% on the spot.
Yeah,
so don't come in if you've had that, because it's often not going to be me charging.
What do you think that is? Because this is what everybody struggles with. It's not just you.
What is it? I don't know what it is. It's just like, I guess in my head, sometimes I feel like the amount of value I've provided, well, because saying that out loud, I disagree, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I think our value far exceeds the price. But maybe I'm thinking more about like how much time I've attached, how much value monetary dollar I attach to my time.
Yeah.
And so if I only spend 3 hours, but I'm charging more than like $30 an hour, like a lot more, then maybe I feel like that's not exactly fair. So I'm breaking that. I'm a lot better at that now.
Yeah. It's really hard because it's what we all struggle with, because when we normally get straight into work, it's okay, we do a job and we get paid by the hour.
Yeah.
And a lot of people get paid by the hour. So then when you interact with a business and they charge based on value and solving a problem, like when you've got that ingrained in you, like imagine if we never learned about charging by the hour, we wouldn't even think like that.
No, exactly.
We just think, okay, you would like this problem solved, it costs X, Y, Z, and they decide whether they're willing to pay for it or not.
Yeah. So that mindset shift is probably where it comes from.
It's a tough one. I think even one of my clients messaged me yesterday about it on a Sunday and was like, I've had pushback from a quote saying, okay, how many people and how many hours and whatnot. I said, mate, like that's not your ideal client. That's not what we wanted to be getting into the weeds in. So I think the thing to remember too is like what the experience that you've built up over those years too, and the fact that they could get it done maybe in a smaller amount of time, and then it might cost them less. But what if they scratch the car and they go, sorry, or they just don't care as much, and like all those little things that
so many that kind of build out that equation for sure.
That we forget when we're pricing. Okay, so you're basically running like a full-fledged business at this stage, where you're hiring people and got leases and whatnot.
Yeah. With room to expand, we're definitely a small business, want to get bigger.
Well, speaking of expansion and want to get bigger, like where are you going with all this?
Second lease hopefully by the end of the year in Laha.
Yeah.
And then to do that, we've got to hit a few milestones. So we'll need another van soon, and a few more staff. So we've got revenue goals, and each goal is associated with the next step in sort of our process of what we need to do. And then broader goal, who knows? So who knows if this will change, but the broader goal is like use that second lease as an opportunity to really nail down our like systems and processes of what it would look like for a franchisee. And then explore, if there's an opportunity to franchise it, and sell the model. Because we do have a few things, honestly. I could talk so long about different things, but that's like the broad goal. Hopefully like national North Island franchise model, maybe. I don't know.
Have you spoken to anybody that's successfully franchised or like can talk you through that journey?
Not yet. I haven't sought out a successful franchise person, but I am always chasing out like successful people, clients. So I do speak with a lot of business owners and people in that sort of who have that knowledge feel, and I guess they might not have necessarily done it themselves, but can still give pieces of advice there.
I'd dig out if I were you. Like there's a number of people, and there's probably people approach you after you, and that's what you want to do. But there's a good lad called Sam Cable.
Sam Cable? I have to write it down.
He's sort of been in that space for a while. Like he works for different franchises, but very successful franchises, including like Anytime Fitness, which is a massive one around the world, right? So he'll be able to give you some insight as to the things to be
on your podcast, has he?
No, but
I might have listened to one by someone else.
I've mentioned him a few times. He's a good lad. They won the block back in the day. Him and
really? Classic.
They're great lads. But there's also like franchise coaches, franchise accountants, and things. But I would, if I were you, I would seek out some people that have like done it successfully, or even I noticed the Jim's mowing dude is building a pretty big personal brand.
Yeah, I've been following that. And he must be like 65, 70, like it's mad. Shout out to him. That's mad credit there. Who knows? Franchising's like,
but you want to scale.
Want to scale. Whether we own them ourselves, I just see franchising as a way to like mitigate the risk of multiple leases. Because the business model is like somewhat volatile to recessions and just the flow of the economic turmoil, I guess. So if we can crack that by having contracts with like dealerships and then having the sort of customer-facing work on top of that, then that could mitigate that risk of it, but we're not there yet. So at the moment, I'm just leaning to franchise, but no idea. That's a few years at least. Maybe.
So you're 19 now, right? 18, sorry. So at 28, this is such a classic.
I haven't thought about it.
Any
Nothing like I'm doing now, I don't reckon. Clean calculative. I mean, I'd hope it's I've built out a team that can take it, grow it, and I'm just helping, as a sort of advisory role, or maybe I sell it, or I don't know if this business model is like a super sellable thing, but mate, I'm only 18. I don't know, 28. Hopefully, closer to financial freedom there. I mean, it's not the be all end all, but if I have choices, that would be great. And hopefully done a bit of traveling by then. For sure. But 10 years, man. Who knows?
Sorry, mate. It's a long way away to be thinking about.
I've been shifting to thinking, I don't know, Hormozy always talks about, you're not going to achieve much in a year, but if you can think 5-10 years, I should be thinking about it.
At 18, I think I was in my first year of studying business at university. So you've probably done a business degree like in practical.
Yeah, school of hard knocks.
Yeah. So the cool thing for you is that these lessons that you've learned, they can be applied to a number of different things. You talk about whether this is sellable or saleable, whatever terminology, but like the answer is yes, because basically people want to buy a business that drops out cash flow. So if you can continue to focus on doing that, which includes like not going like, oh, we'll do this for 10% cheaper, and you maintain your margins and stuff, then they go, oh, I could come along and I could buy that.
Yeah, you buy it for a price and just get that each month on month, that cash flow,
Or you could go down the franchise model or whatever, but I certainly wouldn't be trying to have it all figured out, but I think you're just enjoying the journey.
Yeah, exactly. It's just learning is super fun. So any challenge, I'm just trying to like figure out the solution for each one, and that's kind of what's pushing the business, and I'm sure we'll encounter those problems when we're ready, but we're not there yet.
Have you done any work along the way on like your identity, or come across like content around that and sort of gone like, well, what's all that about, or you think about that, or?
Oh, my identity, or just broad, like sort of in terms of like my mindset, or like how
or like seeing yourself as a character and like who that character is and like how they hold themselves and pretty early to be thinking about that stuff, but I just wonder if it's coming across.
Like accidentally, I consume a crap ton of content in terms of mostly podcasts, just the nature of my work. Like you need hearing protection, and why not just chuck on some AirPods? So I've been listening to podcasts since I started. And throughout that, I've heard many people's opinions, good or bad. But I think that, it does kind of speed run, I guess, like starting to question your own identity maybe. But I couldn't write it down.
It's deep thinking. I think a lot of people don't even like understand it, nor even like and get to it. But I think, I just wondered if that content was like getting in front of people at your age.
Yeah, I did dabble in like a few therapy sessions, and part of that was just like drawing out my values. So I guess that does align with your identity quite strongly. So I mean, I've thought about it, but it's a continuous thing, I feel like,
Did that help you, like, say you could then identify your values and you would have had good discussions through therapy? And let's use that in a positive light rather than a lot of people look at it as like, but you're really like just trying to grow
stigma around there. I don't like. I went in ever since I've been young. For some reason, I've just said like everyone should get therapy, right? Do it before you even need to, right? So I was like, oh, well, preach what I talk, I guess, but it didn't last too long. It is really expensive. Like there's a big issue there about how accessible it is, and I'm super fortunate to come from like a real good background, and even I like felt bad like getting my mum to pay for it, who generously like gifted me those sessions. So it's a thing, but
I think you're repaying your mum, mate. Don't worry.
Eventually,
So, but in those, does it make it clearer for you now, like understanding things like your values when you have a situation you're like, oh, I don't really feel too good about that, and most people would say that it's like, oh, trusting your gut, but actually you're like, oh, actually I can see that's a clash of my values too.
Yeah, I feel like I'm probably failing there and not doing it intentionally enough, because I think there's a lot of intent there. I think bridging that gap is like a sixth sense that you probably learn over time to sort of engage those values in your actions. But I don't think I'm quite there yet. But obviously I feel like I was already, before I like wrote down those values, I was already expressing them. I just wanted to be more closely aligned with them. So by that sort of fact, I guess I already am sort of using that thought process when I'm kind of solving challenges and problems.
Are you open to sharing what one of those values is?
Values? Yeah, I should know them, mate, because I've got them in my notes. Curiosity is a big one.
Nice.
Like empathy, gratitude. I think those are the top 3, and then there's like 7 more, but again, my memory's not great.
With business owners, we often say let's stick to 4 or 5 because like often they become repetitive, or then it does become...
And they overlap a lot.
I went on a podcast once, mate, and we'd just finished doing like a big values exercise for Next Advisory. And we're talking about how important they were, and then this guy's like, oh, so what are yours? And I was like, I just had this like mind blank of like, I know what they are.
Yeah, exactly. Same thing. Anytime you get called out, your mind just blanks.
So you talk about financial freedom as well. What do you think financial freedom means, or what is that?
Oh, I mean, everyone talks about, does money make you happy? No, I don't think it does, but it can, solve some problems that make you unhappy. Money's not the be all end all, but I do treat it as like a measure of my business performance. And on top of that, if you've got a lot of excess cash, it can allow you to just go after opportunities, whether that's in business or, traveling or caring for your loved ones and family and whatnot. So I think solving that issue as early as possible, I mean, it's never something you just solve, but I guess like being real comfortable with it from an early age is really important to me so that I can manage it in a real positive way going forward throughout my whole life.
And giving you choices and options, I love that. That's often like, I'll invest, and I'm like, what am I investing for? Like I was even having this conversation with my partner when we were away, and just like, oh, what are your goals at the moment? I'm like, well, I just have to keep doing processes because good things keep happening.
Momentum, right? You just got to keep like laying the seeds to reap in the future.
Yeah. And so going back to the second van, so are you trying to do that without debt? So do you want to pay for that with what we call working capital?
Yeah. That should be totally achievable. One of a guy I've been like blessedly getting mentoring from every fortnight. He's sort of helped us sort of like nail down our goals and how when to like move forward in a safe manner, right? Because you can definitely run too fast when you haven't even learned how to walk yet, and just the whole thing topples over. So we've been in the last month even just building out like what financial metrics we have to hit at like what capacity for a sustained amount of time to then justify hiring another guy, getting another van, and then taking that second lease.
Nice. I wouldn't be too scared of debt for an asset
business.
That, because if you're only paying 9% interest on it, but then you're able to
generate more.
Generate enough margin. Just something to think about. But
just haven't learned enough about it, how to manage it effectively.
And that's definitely, something that like a lot of tradies and whatnot will do. But they'll, all of us will end up over leveraging and taking on like too much debt, and then it's like, oh, we'll get the flashist or whatever, and don't do enough disciplined. Okay, what's this actually going to do to my cash flow? How much money is going to go out? Can we afford that? So you could probably speed up some of your journey by learning more about debt in a good way.
No, exactly. For sure. But you don't need it. I feel like at least for the van, like our first van was $8,000, but they're selling for like 4 at the moment. So total for us like 6 to 8 grand. And I don't need to take debt for that, right? So.
And you're doing this in a tough economy because Wellington is said to be kind of like, it's probably been hit the hardest. I think it's one of the
shunted now,
it's one of the only regions, I believe, mate, that's got like negative population growth as well.
Yeah, I don't know the exact metrics, but because I'm interested in property, so I've just been looking at that, and it's all toasted at the moment. So I mean, there's no reason, like, I'm not going to use it as an excuse not to start, and I was already started, right? So as long as we can survive through that, that's just like, what exciting upside is on the other side of that. So I guess I'm just excited about that because we're thriving in a crap economy. What are we going to do in a good one?
Love it.
But it's always going to be variable.
100, but that's a great way to think about it. And that's why those processes and systems and whatnot are very important as well. You get those humming. And when you start getting smashed in like because you get smashed in a downturn, but you get smashed in like a swing up where you're like, oh, I don't know what opportunity to say yes or no to.
It's just a flip of like supply and demand. It just constantly changes. So.
But cool to hear, and cool for other people to hear too, that something that would be seen by some people as a luxury, like having your car cleaned, is still paid for by people in a downturned economy.
Yeah, there's always money out there, and we've got two. I mean, I don't know how. Like, this is just my gut feeling off our experiences, but we've got the luxury clientele, which are continuous even through that downturn, or maybe less, but they drop off a bit. But then on the other end, you've got people who are selling their cars to get a bit of quick cash. They understand the arbitrage between, okay, I can sell my car for $4,000. If I pay $400 to get it cleaned, I can sell it for $5,000 because it looks better, right?
Yeah.
So they'll come to us to do that cleaning. So even through an economic downturn, we still have even an increase in those sort of clients that kind of make up the difference. So that's, you just have to sort of come up with a solution for it.
A couple of random questions for you there, mate. Have you ever absolutely stuffed up a car or had like a... Yeah? What happened?
Carlos, if you're listening, I'm sorry. Hey, this is when we were out in Korakora, and we were doing a pancreation on this M4 comp, BMW, 120 grand at least, I think. And he shifted in and he parked it in. And in that time, I think a bin had gotten moved. And I was like, it will fit out, but it wasn't just Australia, it was like a reverse, and I had to move around the bin. But I didn't account for the fact that 95% of the cars, or at least then I was driving, had straight, like sides, whereas the M4 has those fenders that
Yeah.
pop out.
Yeah.
So the fender caught, and it didn't do much damage. But then, as someone else was trying to push it forward again, then it like dented it. So we had to do that whole, and it's a big panel because it comes all the way up, so that had to get resprayed. And this guy, he's real successful, young himself, like 21, and I just like crashed his M4 comp. It was gut wrenching. Eh? So chill about it though. Absolute G, that guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Wow. And did you just own straight up to it? Like, how'd you approach it?
Yeah, well, we had insurance. Like,
Yeah.
shit happens.
You have insurance for the business?
Yeah.
Work it.
And now
Yeah.
it's a company as well, so
Yeah.
limited liability and all that. But
Nice.
yeah, thank God we had insurance because we didn't start. So
Yeah.
you know, that's one thing. But yeah, it was a real tough conversation. But like, spent like 10 minutes, and I was like, mate, I'm sorry, like this is what's happened. And he was actually out at dinner, so I think he was more pissed about being interrupted, maybe with a date or whatnot, than hearing in the news. But yeah,
Classic.
it's rough.
All right, so biggest flex. What's the most expensive car you've ever detailed? And were you guys nervous touching it?
Most expensive, yeah. Well, our shop's 6 meters wide, I think, 7 meters. And we had to do a 360 in the car to get it positioned. We've had a GT3 RS, so that's pretty expensive. We had a Ferrari 458 in recently as well. I think they're both up there. And then a couple more ones lined up that are going to take those out. But not nervous, just excited, like, going to start that up, give it a little rev. It's quite nice.
It's just got my brain going. But I wonder, like, with some of these people with these flash cars, like, if you say to them, hey, would you be open to us just doing like a quick, what do you do? How'd you get this car?
Yeah.
And then
it's content,
Yeah, there's your content. And then it's going to, like, capture a wide audience. But then it'll, it's like validation that, okay, people like this are sending their cars to you.
Yeah.
And if it's good for them, well, then why isn't it for you?
For their colleagues
Yeah,
as well.
but it's just like easy content. So if you could teach the team to do it, to interview comfortably.
That's a good idea, actually.
Like some of them might be like, nah, like, I don't want to do it. And you're like, no worries. But like you've got an easy content.
Well, the funny thing with those guys, pretty much every single like supercar or nice car we've had in, they're the most personable, most like eager to talk about it because oftentimes they're either successful in their own businesses, or once they've worked their way up through. So whether they're lawyers or some super niche stuff that I was mentioning, they're always open to chat. So we have those conversations and interviews basically anyway, because I just want to like learn about their business. So just chucking a camera on is an easy thing to integrate.
The other angle, man, that I'd play with it is basically
write this down.
Yeah, well, you'll get the recording. Right? So watch this back.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But why not and then if you're talking about like if they're building successful Wellington businesses and stuff, then you're kind of showcasing what's possible in Wellington as well.
Yeah.
As a different angle, you probably end up finding you can get some like sponsorship and stuff like that.
Yeah,
too. Like,
from the personal brand side. That's a good idea. Maybe, I'd need a bit of motivation to get my ass back into it.
Yeah. But I think it'll grow. Because you've got a Instagram account for the business, right?
Yeah.
And you've got basically like easy content there, because people will be captivated by that. Of like, everybody's captivated by a fancy car or a bloody Merc. I take this one off the road the other day, and I just maybe there's some easy content for you there, but take it or leave it.
Because I need a shift. I suck at the content game I was good at it for biking, and I just have not managed to crack it for the cars. It's so annoying.
It's just consistency and like just keeping breaking through. But okay, what's the dumbest money advice you hear people giving each other?
Giving each other, eh?
That's a tough.
That's tough. There's lots, but
But
I'm probably missing some big one. But like, I feel like people don't realize how much they spend on piss every weekend. Especially if you're like going after work every day, grabbing a couple pints at a pub, especially like that racks up. Like if you were able to, even if you want to still drink, but just like get some like wholesale alcohol in or something and make it a bit cheaper. That's probably a big one. But then probably the biggest mistake is just not investing early, right? Like you see people starting to learn about it when they're 40, 50, and it's like they've just missed out on, like, I'm going to have such a huge advantage of them. And then even people who give their kids, like before they're even born, an account that they can start stacking before they're born, like they've got an even bigger jump than I do. So I think as soon as people are blessed enough to like somehow encounter investment education in whatever form that is, as soon as they can like get it, then act on it. That's probably like, if you know and you aren't taking action, I guess is a better way to frame it. Like that's the biggest mistake.
Nice. That's a bloody good lesson, mate. If you know and you're not taking action, it's so true.
I guess it's not just investing, like anything.
It's anything.
Like,
And it's talking about, I had a young fella, I think he was 18, might have messaged me today or yesterday, and was basically like, what's your advice for someone 18 that's getting into investing or like about investing? And I'm like, you can imagine how many questions I get, over the years. I'm just like, I'm like,
just do it.
Yeah. The answer is like start and
don't
compound.
find the perfect Sharesies hatch or whatever. Just do it.
The sooner you start, the more you've got the ability to have compounding on your side. And I think people like really don't understand that. But it's like, I've got to be in the perfect share or whatever. But it's the lessons and the time.
And not necessarily even not understanding, but because you can understand it and take action, but until you have that like first bit of success, then it's not really embedded. So you don't really know to keep doing it. Like, you always need an early success with something, I think, to quickly like jumpstart your progress to like then keep going hard at it.
Yeah, because you've got data that it works, right? Yeah. I was listening to a book when I was away, and it was talking about how like often for a lot of poor people, one of the reasons they stay poor is because they've never had data to show that there is the point of delaying gratification. So often they've been promised something, and then it's been taken from them. So then the data is actually like, well, you told me to do this, and that didn't happen. You told me to delay gratification, like, fuck this. And so then we become easy victims for, okay, I'm going to take out buy now, pay later or consumer debt, because it's basically encouraging the reverse, which is you don't have to wait. You can have it now. And, like you wouldn't be able to afford this, but you can now because of this solution we're providing for you. And so then you get taught more the reverse way. So then when you've got someone that comes along and goes, no, I'll tell you what, if you save now and invest for the future, you're going to have way more. They're like, what are you on about? What's the point? Like, and they don't believe it because they've seen something being taken from them. So
and even like I feel for those that have just started like investing, probably S&P 500 super safe in the last few months, just like drop some cash in to get ahead and then back. Yeah, you got that negative feedback of like down 10, 15% in the first month. You're like, what?
Yeah.
And they're not going to have the confidence to then go put another, 5,000 troops, as you say, chuck it in. But so that's rough for them. But
What would you say, speaking of like lessons and things, what have you picked up from Keep the Change, do you think, that sort of had the biggest impact or that's really stood out? And I guess, did you find Keep the Change via me coming and speaking at school?
I don't think I started listening to like nearly a year after you came by, or at least regularly. I think you've just got good Spotify ranking, so eventually I just naturally progressed into it.
Were you like, that's the dude?
Yeah. I knew who you were, so I guess, and I probably had been following you on some form of social media. But it's hard to nail one thing. Like, there's so much advice, and honestly, I would have forgotten a lot of it. So it's good. It's so good just every week, like listening to the new ones, because you repeat a lot of the same stuff, and that just embeds it. You talk a lot about debt and keeping debt free, or at least being sensible around it. And I had, when I was 18, like I was like, I'm spending all this money through the business. Why not get a credit card and start racking up those points? And I was like, I'm not going to fall into the trap of being late with payments. But I was like, maybe it generates, I don't even know how much, $2-5 grand a year in terms of kickback. Like, do I really want to take that risk? Is it actually going to be worth it for me? But to say that's definitely not the most valuable. That's just something that jumps to mind. Probably the taking action piece is big.
Good man. All right, so here's one. You're given $10,000 today but can't spend it on your business. What are you doing with it? And you have to spend it.
Growth index. Actually, I'm too leveraged into those. Probably
you invest in it.
Yeah, probably a if I can't put it in my business. Probably a non-US fund, maybe. Something that's down. I'm not like too clued up, but I think I'm a bit too focused on the US. So
do you contribute to KiwiSaver?
Not at the moment, because I've only just turned 18, so there was no point before that. I will put in the minimum to get the contribution, and then from there, I feel like maybe if the business was in a position to pay it out, but
because you're self-employed effectively, so then you don't.
I'd have to pay my and I don't want it tied up yet. I
think it's a big design flaw of KiwiSaver for like young people like yourself, or even just anyone self-employed, is that they don't get that matched 3%, and we've got a lot of self-employed people.
And it's going to keep growing, I feel like. So not sure what the solution is.
Some things that might help business owners out there. Let's get some business advice from you, and you probably feel like, well, mate, you've built something. You've definitely done it. What mindsets or habits do you think helped you the most as a young entrepreneur?
What mindsets? I mean, it's one whole thing for me, right? And it's something you can constantly work on. And to build that, I think it's just surrounding yourself, like curating what information you take in throughout the day. So whether that's on your social media, like it's hard to cut that out completely. So follow the people that you know are going to benefit you in terms of the info they give. So like Hormozy, for instance, or anyone along whatever you're aligned with. And then if you can, like podcasts and things like that, that just gets you in the constant state of like wanting to better yourself. And then, I guess it's just around like action taking is probably the biggest thing. And gratitude's a real helpful one, I think, to like, it kind of just keeps you grounded. But yeah, it's a hard question to answer. There's so many different pieces that could sort of build a mindset.
Do you think, like, can you see that you've got resilience, or would you term it like that, or you kind of just think it's normal to see challenges and not get too down about them, just keep rolling?
Yeah, well, I guess it comes like you've got a choice whenever you get a problem, and you can just sit with it or take the loss, or you can sort of flip the switch and figure out how to move beyond that. And you can do that to a certain extent with any issue you get. So I think, maybe if that is a mindset thing, switching a mindset to be more solution focused thinking, or however you'd explain that, is important.
What mistake did you make early on that you laugh about now?
There's probably heaps. The M4 probably is a big one.
Yeah.
I mean, I probably still shouldn't laugh about that. Sorry, Carlos. Or Carlo, but mistakes probably being like too scared to direct your employees and being like super on the nose with that, and just like, especially because they're your mates, like, it's hard to switch between like putting on a boss hat and a mate hat. So being more on the nose with that and being better at like giving more explicit directions maybe. But I don't know if I find that funny. So
What in terms of marketing, what's been the most effective way you've found to get new customers?
I've done a lot. Like Google My Business is the best bang for your buck, because you can just put a lot of time in that. So optimizing for that, and then I do a lot of SEO work. And then we're sort of trying to crack Facebook ads. I haven't got the time to do Google at the moment. We're just running. I had it built out by an agency. Haven't seen much success with that, but at the moment, like, it depends on the business, but I'm having great success running just Facebook lead ads with creatives, as well as a video ad we've done, and then just ringing up leads based on that and selling them over the phone. Yeah. That's real good, I think, if you're in like a tight position in terms of cash flow, to just get quick cash to the door to pay your staff or whatever you need to do. And then outside of that, word of mouth you can't track, so it makes it, I think, something a lot of businesses skip over, but you can still put in some forms of tracking, but also ways to like track that it's working and ways to increase it. So that's a big one that I feel like most business owners probably ignore. They get a bit of like whatever processes they have result in some word of mouth and them having a good service, but then they kind of don't create a snowball effect around that by implementing certain things.
Have you built a database of all of your customers over the years?
Yeah.
Like including email? You've got that?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, good man. Do you email them?
Like retargeting emails, or
just like a bulk monthly email.
That's something I'm working into. I did one a month and a half ago, and just did one email to everyone, and then got some advice the next day, and it's like, you shouldn't have done that. You should have like tested what email works.
Oh, gotcha.
So now I started doing that. But it's just one thing to add on the stack, right? And it is definitely like the next part of the business is retargeting and rebooking the customers we already have, because at the moment the business is 92% just built on acquiring new customers.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So there's huge opportunity, money left on the table just to, which I was scared that meant we have a crappy product, but my mind's, I didn't realize, and I know that's not true. I thought guys would get their cars detailed more regularly, but we are, now that we've been in the game for longer, seeing that number of repeat customers just increase massively as time goes on, coming in like once a year, for instance. So that's a bit of a shift there recently we've had.
What do you reckon your database size is roughly?
I should know the answer. It's split because we didn't have the right CRM from day one.
Yeah.
So we've gone through like 3 or probably 6 even. So collating them all is probably like around the 3,000 mark.
Wow.
Maybe more, maybe a little bit less. I know we've done more than that, but obviously we weren't collecting it from day one. So yeah.
Have you heard me talk about our client who's in the cleaning space, and they do like a monthly offer? So they've got a database of regular cleaning, but then each month they'll normally go to them and be like, hey, like, we can clean your oven. We're doing like ovens this month. Hey, we're doing this. We're doing
How long
that.
ago was? I've probably heard it and forgot it.
I'll probably talk about it more in the next advisory pod, because it's
I haven't even. I didn't even know you did next
mate,
advisory pod.
There's 600 over there, mate.
Oh,
But that is like, there will be your next
Yeah.
lease, there will be your next van. All of that is sitting inside that 3,000, and they're just being asked to spend.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to come up with different offers of what they want, but they sort of theme them out. And she kind of gets excited by sending that because then she gets the data of like, wow, in 48 hours we've had this many bookings, that's this
based
many.
off that.
So then you know that you're getting such a good return on that.
Yeah.
The other thing, do you use something like, so do you use any texting, like being able to text them? Yeah.
Real annoying being in New Zealand for that because
it's
our
expensive,
our booking system has integrations with Twilio and another one, but you need like shortcodes which are thousands of dollars. So TNZ, it just ends up costing a lot. You go our booking system with a Zap to TNZ, so then the customers get texted, but you max out the free trial and then the booking system is 100 a month or whatever, 200 a month, 100 a month, 40 a month, whatever. Now that's a lot. Like it builds up.
Someone would have solved this problem, mate. Let's find out from somebody how to
Well,
solve
I mean,
it.
I figured it out, just not for a cheap cost.
Yeah,
If anyone's got a better idea, reach out.
Hey, what about flyers? Do you do any flyers?
Yeah, so I just like 3 weeks ago ordered 5,000 to demo with.
I love how you ordered 5,000, not 50, because most people are like, oh, we've done that.
Well,
we did 50.
I've had Hormozy talk about like 10 times. So 5,000, except I was going to put them out myself because it's like, I'll get some cardio in while I do it.
Nice.
But then I've never had the time, so I've dropped like 800. So I really just, if anyone's in Wellington wants some cash, drop flyers, hit me up.
Wicked, Where are you going to drop them?
Well, mostly I kind of hate flyers, to be honest, just because you either put them in the letterbox and everyone's got no articulate things. So we put them on the windshield, on the passenger windshield wiper.
Oh, just roll up to random houses.
Yeah, I just walk around Wellington, walk around the suburbs and chuck it under. And that's, I think, the best way to do it, but not everyone likes that, right? Like, oh, you touched my car. Like, I get that. So it's one of those things, but I think for, the 1 in 20 that hates it, you'll probably score a couple. And even of those, like, it might not even be, I think I spent like 2 hours doing them and got a booking straight off that we checked with the UTL code. So,
wicked.
I'm sure it will work.
Yeah, I was just trying to think whether there's like areas where people congregate with cars that are
parking
high value.
It's been real bloody annoying because Wellington's such a lazy country with all the public holidays we take. So I've been wanting to do them in the last like week and go around because I know the parking buildings where like all the big law firms and stuff park during the day, but no one's been there because it's been public holidays for like 2 weeks. Well, I mean, not quite, and then I've been working on the days. So. But it's definitely, and then I want to track as well the suburbs, which book in the most to see if there's like, the wealthier suburbs end up in more, and we'll just focus all our time there.
Mate, love it. This has been so much fun. I don't know how long we've gone for. We might have gone past the hour here, but hey, it's good.
Long.
No, it's bloody good, mate. There's so much in here. A couple of things to finish off. I've got to go back and speak at Wellington College. Is there anything you think that I probably need to speak about that I haven't, that I didn't on that day, or like anything topical at the moment that you like talk to the lads about this?
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember exactly, what you talked over because it's so long ago. I don't know exactly why it would be year 11s and not the older guys. Just I feel like there's going to be more people that take that on.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm sure you're doing this already, but showing the exact steps, like how easy it is, and maybe outlining like a few different classic journeys from like, oh, if this kid's like at school most days training for rugby, how can he, make that extra cash, whether it's selling like old rugby gear or whatnot, and then maybe demoing out a few different, so it feels relevant to the biggest cohorts. Yeah, cool. But you might already be doing a few steps of that, so I don't know exactly.
No, that's relevant, and that's I can make it more relevant to them, with examples and stuff.
So you get more people taking action off it.
Yeah, I'll put some thinking into that. Okay, what advice would you give to people that are your age, and really like it's any age if they're not taking action, but if people like your age and they're like sitting on an idea they want to get started or whatnot, what would you tell them?
Well, I want to be careful because I don't know if it's necessarily the right path, I feel like I've sacrificed a lot and that's okay because I enjoyed it, but I'm not saying that's for everyone. So, enjoy whatever you're doing. And if at some point you're not enjoying it or you not taking action is resulting in a lot of like, tension in your life, that's the point where you should look. And once you've sort of found a path, or even if you don't have a path in mind, just, do something. Like it's so easy to start a side hustle these days and just get that extra cash rolling and just do that on the side and, take that and invest it or use it for something.
Stack it up.
Yeah, just do something. Like that's a big thing. Just no one's doing stuff.
Yeah,
do it.
Yeah, good man. And what about for parents that are listening that have got kids that are your age, that are like 15 through to say 20. Like those are grunty years for adolescents and kids and stuff like that. What advice would you have for those parents?
I don't know if I'm in the place to give advice to
Of course
parents.
you are,
I
mate.
want to be very careful when I step here. Like, I have no idea how hard it is, knowing that it is hard to raise a kid. So, bloody congrats to you. Like, mad respect there. But, like, I guess educating themselves first, because I feel like a lot of kids grow up with real bad advice from their parents. Like, especially mums. Like, not my mum. I'm not like, hinting at anything there, but I feel like they're very protective, right? So, going if someone else was trying to get a lease or whatnot, either like that's a big scary thing for your mum to sort of follow along with. So, educating themselves and maybe paying a bit of interest, just making sure they're like clued up on what their kid's doing, and I don't know. Yes, if you can, like if you got any extra cash, chuck in like a Sharesies fund as young as they are, and then teach them around that is probably the most actionable thing. Anything, like any questions these parents could be asking their kids to be more interested, or like to get those convos going? Because I know some people talk about how that can be hard. I guess maybe the easiest thing is like if they've got a passion, like for me it was mountain biking, but rugby or whatnot, that costs money, right? Like outlining for them how they can take action to bridge that gap. And start making their own money. Like maybe sitting them down and having a conversation like, hey, we can't really afford to do X, Y, Z if that's the case, but like this is how you can do it yourself. But maybe ask ChatGPT for those question prompts. So I'm not in the place to say. It's funny you mentioned, parents being protective, and it's so true. Like, I'm 37 now, and I came to work yesterday on a Sunday, and Mum's still like, come on, mate, like it's Sunday, you shouldn't be going to work, you don't, like, slow down. I'm like, Mum, I've been on holiday for 7 days, like we're on now. Yeah, like, they're worried you're going to burn out. This is what I get from everyone there. How do you deal with that, with the burnout stuff, I'd imagine, because that's a big broad topic, and it's something that's misunderstood as well, so everyone's got their opinion about it. Yeah, I think there's too much like using burnout as an excuse, and I want to be real careful there because everyone gets like, it's okay to, burnout can be natural, especially if you're in like a high stress role or whatever and you're doing so much. And I think I have like burnt out at points and needed a few days to recover. Like that's natural, but I don't know if that's bad necessarily. Like if it's not having an overall negative impact on your mental health, it just means you're pushing yourself to the limits, and I think that's really positive. So yeah, I'm trying to sort of rethink. I mean, I think it was Hormoza that sort of led me to sort of think about what actually is burnout. And I get my girlfriend or my mum being like, slow down, like you're going to do too much, you're going to get sick, you're going to burn out. And it's like, well, let's see if that's true. Like, let's push in and just, go a bit harder than we did last week or whatnot. Okay, nice. And like, I guess the good thing with that is that you then get to test your limits. And so then when you get to them, you do know, like, okay, I need to, and, I've done the same sort of thing where it's like, okay, I know I need to dial back here, or I'm like, I'm into the vitamin C and different things. Been like, funny timing. I just got some yesterday. Yeah, because I've had a bit of a cold coming on. I'm like, I don't want this to slow me down. Yeah, it's funny. I remember when I was employed, I'd be like, oh, if I could feel myself getting sick, I was almost like, man, sick. Yeah, epic. I'll get to use some of these 10. Now I'm like, oh man, we got to keep that at bay. Yeah, that's just gonna like cost me so much money if I got to stop. But now also when I do get sick, I'm like, okay, like take your medicine. In terms you go of hard. Like, yeah, I'm like, okay, this is like my body is like, nah, fuck you, mate. Like we are, like you're resting and I'm slowing you down and your creativity's not there. And so, but then when I'm flying, I'm like, okay, squeeze this. Yeah, no, for sure. You go through seasons, and whether it's sick or just like your business not pumping at the same speed or whatnot, like, it's something you've got to be aware of so that you can make those adjustments. But to that sickness point, whenever I feel like my sore throat, or whenever it's like, you go to work and your productivity dips to a certain point, the smartest thing is just recover as hard as you can, so as short as possible, and then go back full speed, A message to the editor, and we'll leave this in the pod as well, but can you, when you're editing this, can you please beep out, we don't normally, but can you beep out my F-bombs? I think I've only done 3 or 4, which is pretty good for me. Have I done none? I'm pretty sure you're on none, man, and I haven't even influenced you. I think you might have nearly done one. But there's one. Because I was thinking, this would be great for some teachers to play to their classrooms, even like Wellington College. Like, I'll go back to the teacher that invited me and say, like, this is a great, this would probably span 2 periods now. I don't know if people will sit still for this long, but they could maybe cut it in half. Maybe. Chuck in their ears on their way to school. I think there's so much in here. I nearly forgot, mate, but this over my back shoulder, let me just grab this. So shout out Love Maps. So Love Maps? So it's generally for relationships, but it's a new business, right? That's the idea. We what she took and ran with. So my girlfriend made one of these for our 6 months like anniversary.
Yeah.
And then we were like, well, why not turn it into a business? So I helped her make the website. But as you can see, it's not just, it's meant to be for couples, like their journey.
Yeah.
So whether it's 6 months, a year, or we've done lifetimes. Even, my granddad turned 100 and she did one covering the milestones of the 100 years. So,
Epic.
what it is milestones of your journey, or whether it's your relationship or whatnot. But they're fully custom, drawn to, this is Luke's journey as much as we could. Normally, the customers give us the info.
I'll just hold this to the camera here. Now, obviously, if people are listening on audio, you're not going to necessarily see it. But what's your girlfriend's name?
Clara. Yeah.
Clara.
Yeah.
Shout out to Clara. It's done an exceptional job here. So just basically going through to the level of detail. I've got like pine cones being sold.
Yeah, was that accurate? I feel like I remembered a podcast where you're like, it might have been dried seaweed.
Yeah,
but I wasn't
Agar.
sure on that one, so I did pine cones.
Yeah, Agar at the beach, mate.
Yeah.
Mum would make us collect that.
Yeah,
and
and
might
sell
help
it,
pay for the holiday.
Yeah.
Graduating at high school and then degree and then becoming a chartered accountant. You've got Next Advisory logos on here, co-founder of my business partner, some BGP stuff, chartered accounting awards, Kadaka Millions, school rebates, keep the change. I'll keep the change becomes New Zealand's biggest personal finance podcast. How good! I look forward to extending the journey as well.
Yeah,
I've really been thinking recently about where do we take keep the change and like where does it go to? And I kind of I'm playing with. I don't really know how to but I don't know what it is yet. But I wonder if we could build like a massive keep the change type fund or community type business where people are like using the providers and then the profits stay in there, and then everybody who's a part of that is rewarded, kind of like a cooperative.
Oh, like a managed fund.
Yeah, but plus then like a managed fund and stuff. So.
Surely you make it so like any profits have to be given out as tied, because I loved your like around Christmas the $100 challenge.
It's cool, eh?
Yeah, but. Yeah, something, if you can include something like that would be sick.
Yeah, it'd be epic,
eh?
Yeah. So that's where my brain is at the moment of like, okay, where do we go with this? But anyway.
Yeah.
Mate, anything that we've missed along this, because I had so many notes and I've taken so many as we've gone as well. But if people want to find you, I guess we've completely missed that. So firstly, Clara from Love Maps. So if people want to find Clara's Love Maps.
Yeah, that's just lovemap.co.nz or
Love Map?
Yeah, Love Map. Yeah,
Cool.
I should know, one of those.
It'll pop up.
Yeah.
Instagram as well,
Yeah,
maybe?
Instagram and TikTok is just Love Maps NZ.
Okay.
So, you can always DM, email. Email's just hello@lovemap.co.nz. Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, so it is Map, yeah.
Yeah, it's Map. Okay, sweet, good man. Hopefully we don't get in trouble with Clara with that one. and then for yourself, so the Clean Car Collective.
Yeah, so cleancarcollective.co.nz, but more importantly, if you're in Wellington, search best car detailers in Wellington.
Nice.
And if we're not at the top, we will be. If we're not, don't go with us. But we rank like sponsored, top of Google My Business, top of organic, and then top recommended on Reddit and Money Hub. So if we're not there, I don't deserve your business, eh?
Wow, good attitude, man.
Yeah,
Good
so
attitude.
that's been the building, and then you can reach out or follow my socials if I can be bothered, bothered, but if I start posting again.
But you're posting on the business account, right? Or are you saying you've been a bit slack on that?
No, I've been doing more on the business, but it's less like I don't know. It's more about the cars.
Yeah,
so I do need to get more. That I like your idea about interviewing our customers. But then I've been slack on my personal socials. Yeah.
I think the thing though, remember like Gary Vee talks about document, don't create. So if you're struggling with content, then maybe go back to just documenting, even just like something I try to remind myself. I even have a calendar reminder in my phone where I'm like, I should be talking more to the Keep the Change audience about what I'm actually doing in that day.
That'd be sick.
Yeah, but I forget to do it. And so now I've set a reminder, but then I still, like it hasn't embedded a habit into me.
Yeah.
And I think I should just do like one a day where I'm like, okay, these are the sorts of meetings or this is the sort of things that I'm working on, because people probably have no idea.
Yeah.
But that's document, don't create. And so that should be easy, but I find that like hard. But
well, I do document for my personal, because I really want to be able to look back at it, because again, my memory's not great, so I know I'll forget all this. But the reason one of the things I stopped is I was like, I'd rather make content around something I've built than as I'm building it.
Yeah.
But that's kind of stupid. So I don't know if I agree with that.
Well, the other idea, man, like if you open up, you got an iPhone, right?
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah.
Like open up and get your voice notes. At the end of the day, you could just record like a 1 minute sort of like, here's what you've been doing.
Yeah.
And it builds a content bank. But also over like a year, it allows you to go back and be like, oh man, what was the tone of my voice? What was I working on? What was I?
Well, I journal for that, just for
nice.
personal use. So I try. I started doing it because I think that's real valuable. But notes is probably a more modern way to do it.
Or
voice
even just,
memo,
Yeah. Well, mate, I think you should be incredibly proud of what you've built and the journey you've gone on, and how quickly you've done a lot of this. And I'm really looking forward to seeing where you get to. one question I did want to ask, and I nearly forgot, is do you need help with anything? Is there anything we can help you with this? To keep the change community, me personally?
Not really, yeah. Like, I'm always just looking to connect with successful people who can lead me in the right direction. That doesn't have to be business, like any form of success. And I just like learning. Like, that was my biggest fear leaving school. Not that I felt like I was learning a whole heap there, more the social aspect, but not going to uni is like, I really love learning technical business knowledge. And if you don't chase that out yourself, you don't learn it. So I've been chasing like co-founders of startups and whatnot who are in the trenches day in, day out. And I think that's a real good way to keep pushing forward. But it's a daily struggle,
That's just made me realise I completely missed like a big part of this, but just to cover it very briefly. Do you feel like any pressure where you didn't do the kind of go to uni thing? I feel like that's kind of slowed down a little bit since I was at school.
Slowed down. I actually never had much kickback until recently. Like my I had a bit of kickback from family members just to, and it wasn't like they weren't super bad about it. It was just like questioning it. And yeah, some people do see that as like the tried and true path. And yeah, I think it's less and less important. The only thing that is very vital is that social aspect. So if you're not finding that elsewhere, if you don't go to uni, I think that's a dangerous path. Like I think a lot of people are getting like not misinformation, but like can be like, oh, starting a side hustle is so easy. Like, I don't need to go get a job, go to uni to be successful. And that's so true, but it takes effort. And then they cannot start and then get into like a trap of just inaction, just sitting at home doing nothing or whatnot. So that's, if you've got something else, go hard and chase it. Otherwise, uni's still a great option.
Yeah, especially if you're passionate about it or you really enjoy it, right?
Yeah, I haven't closed that off. Like, I may go in the future. But
I think the world's changed so much as well. Like, part of the idea was go to uni, it would guarantee you a really good job. And if you have a good job, that would give you a good income. And if you have a good income, then you can have a good house and you can have good leverage and you could get a good rental property. And then, so it was very
every one of those has changed.
And now it's like, oh, okay, so what happened over those 40 years? Okay, great. All of the wealth accumulated at the top. But now guess where we are? Oh, all of those people have to spend that wealth. How do people spend wealth? Well, they spend it with businesses. So if we learn how to create side hustles or add value,
money,
then the kind of like get a good job, like how does the get a good job feed into it if it's not like tech or an exploding industry or whatnot?
Absolutely.
I think some older people who have gone down that path probably can't
push it a bit harder. See that alternative. That's true.
Because like they haven't really, they're not back at the start going, okay, what's my path forward? They're like, oh, well, this worked for me. So then,
do it. Like,
what are you doing, man?
Like they see it's such a bigger risk, whereas there's definitely a risk in following the trodden path for all those reasons you outlined.
Yes.
Yeah. I like your business around toenail clipping.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was an idea, right? Someone's doing it.
Yeah,
that's sick. Like, no one's going to think about that.
No.
So good. And then I was thinking another one is like mobile knife sharpening. So I reckon that's super low barrier to entry. So if anyone wants to take that idea and start it up, that'd be sick to see succeed.
On that, are there any, man, we could talk for hours, but are there, we'll have to do a part 2 at some point. We'll definitely follow your journey over the years, but are there any like ideas that you see where you think like, oh, I'd love to have a crack at that, but then you stop yourself and you're like, I got to focus on what I'm doing?
Oh, I could literally talk for hours about like Woman in the Red Dress, that Matrix piece. Because I'm Hormozy again, I'm a big follower of him, like fan of him. But he talks about a lot like there are endless opportunities out there, and I've picked like the most boring one, and I've had to make it interesting to captivate my attention. But I'm getting way better at it now. But like like Love Maps was one of them, which I think there's much more value because it's building my partner's journey as well. But like so many different things I've gone and started alongside, and I think it's like egotistical to think you can successfully split your attention between 8 things and have them all grow when there's someone else just focusing on their one thing and you think you're going to beat them. Like, no. So that's a big thing that I feel like anyone can learn and really action out, like focus on one thing, do it right, and it will grow so much faster than if you split.
Yeah, man.
Chase the
I would go to ChatGPT and basically say, I've got a database of 3,000 people in this type of, like it knows everything about you already, right? And be like, okay, my goal is to make an extra $100,000 of revenue for the next 12 months.
More than that.
More than that, love it.
More than that. That's our monthly goal for.
Yeah, good man. Well, like whatever it is, right? And then go, okay, help me build some offers to send out to bring some more revenue.
ChatGPT is insane, eh? It does all my Facebook ad offers, like
nice.
Yeah, and even Genspark AI can build you out like a website based on your business to do that. It's one of my the guy who left to Oz is following his own path, and he's big into AI, and it's like I'm getting the benefits of that.
Yeah,
Genspark.
I haven't even had a crack at that.
Yeah, neither until then. It's good.
All right, mate, that has been a lot of fun, like I said. So if people want to find you, then they can do that very, very simply. I imagine even if they just search Max Tebbs, right?
Yeah, it should
with two
pop up.
Bs. Yeah,
Yeah.
you'll pop up. Otherwise, Clean Car Collective. Like I said, mate, keep going, keep pushing. And
appreciate
yeah,
it.
well done on what you've built. And we all look forward to seeing where you get to.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on. It's been a pleasure. Yeah.
No worries.
Cheers.